Welcome to Bube's Brewery in the Catacombs. My name is Kate, and I'm going to be giving you a brief tour of our building as we descend down to the lowest level. This room we're standing in here is known as the shaft room. This shaft actually runs all the way down to the catacombs level below. This is where the finished barrels of lager would have been raised up back to street level to be loaded on carts and delivered around the neighborhood of Montjoy. Approximately 20 miles, that is the average distance a horse and cart can travel in a single day and still return to their home stables. The mash tub actually is part of the beer brewing experience. That is where they would start the grain into hot water. It's that process that develops the wort. Wort for beer is sort of what grape juice is to wine. So as we enter this room, we are in the stock tub cellar. This stock tub cellar is actually the conditioning room for the brewery. We are on the third level, going from top to bottom of a brewing process. The very top level, all the way up, was where they would have cooled the wort into a temperature where they could finally add it to some yeast. If that beer is too warm, or the wort is too warm at that point, it would actually kill the yeast. Once it was cooled, it was drained into the room directly above our heads, which looks a lot like this room. That is where that yeast would have been added, and the initial phase of fermentation would start to happen. That fermentation releases a great deal of the carbon dioxide. When they're most of the way through that process, they then transfer it into these kegs. These large kegs were only filled about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way full, leaving the very important headroom. Now each of these kegs is quite large, and unlike the kegs upstairs, they're sealed top and bottom and have a pressurized door on the side. That is so that they can trap that carbon dioxide that's being released into the headroom of the keg and allow it to sit long enough for that carbon to settle back into the beer, providing that wonderful carbon that we're used to having in our beer. It's actually a natural process. As we step through here, you are walking through a 4-foot wall. That is the separation between the original brew house and the addition of the hotel. Now that door is not original. It was added so that we could tour. The 6th barrel that would have stood in that place is actually up in our lobby. 6 barrels representing 6 days of the 7-work-day week. This is actually our gallery space. This gallery is actually currently harboring the work of a delightful artist named Ben Farrell, who happens to be standing here.
For sale.
For sale. This gallery features the art of local artists who come in and display for a month to 2 months. The next art project coming in is, in fact, our escape room. It will be here for a 2-month period, limited engagement. We have just entered the original bar of the Central Hotel. This bar also features itself as the main entrance, though we no longer use this entrance to come into this building. Now the Alois restaurant that is attached to this bar serves as the facility for our murder mysteries. This room, which was in fact originally the main dining room of the restaurant, now is certainly known as the canopy room, as you can tell by our ceiling treatment up above. The canopy room is, again, one of the dining rooms used for our murder mystery. The Peacock Room. This was, in fact, Alois Bube's private dining room for his family and close guests in the restaurant. Welcome to the Dragonfly Room, also known as the Mirror Room. This room served itself as the ladies' parlor. This building is prior to Prohibition, and the parlor, also known modernly as the bar, was an area for men only. Women would have never set foot in the bar, well, unless they were women of ill repute. Women generally came, got a drink, and then would have come into this particular room in order to enjoy their drink. At that point, it probably would have been set up with small sofas and chairs. As we prepare to make our final descent all the way into the old aging vaults known as the catacombs, I will point out that as we are on this level, we are already underground. If you can notice above my head, there are small transom windows. Those are level with our sidewalk up above. So at this point, we are well in the basement, and we are going to continue down 2 flights of stairs into the lowest room of the catacombs. This room, like the 3 total rooms that are here, are built in a natural cave system which exists in the town of Mountjoy. Each of these rooms was dug out of the existing cave to clean up and open the space, and the only remaining fully stone wall is this wall here. Now these catacombs, a common question we get is whether or not they had to do with the Underground Railroad. Well, these catacombs as they are standing today did not. The caves that pre-exist them certainly did. Welcome to the main room of the catacombs. This is by far the largest of the 3 rooms. This room maintains one of the original floors, which is sloped to the center. As I often joke, as people dine or enjoy their evening down here, the more you drink, the more level it gets. Now this room is the room that leads back to the shaft room where we started. This area goes again all the way up where those finished barrels of lager could be sent back upstairs. This room, which is directly below the conditioning room we went through earlier, actually contains 4 of the original aging casks, known as shaving casks. They were called shaving casks because they were pieces of wood that were often added during the aging process. We're familiar with the modern term beechwood aged. Well, this is what they were referring to. Different woods create different flavors in the beer. These 4 casks are the only 4 original that remain on this level. Welcome to the main entrance of the Bube's Brewery complex. This lobby, in its square footage, represents the oldest point of the entire building. Built between 1960 and 1965, this is the original footprint of the property. Alright, we have entered the fermentation room. These 8 barrels are directly above the stock tub cellar and conditioning room located below our feet. This is where that fermentation would have taken place. These barrels are open on the top, allowing that gas to escape during the process, the carbon. There are a lot of artifacts in this room. These are all artifacts that are related to the history of Bube's Brewery, waiting to be categorized. We have entered the Cooper shed level of the building. This area would have been used to repair and complete barrels that were necessary for the brewing process. Now there are 2 levels to the Cooper shed level. This particular part was used actually for the brewing process itself. So this is one of the areas where the mash tub might have been, is located here. Currently this area serves as backup seating for our Bottling Works restaurant. Welcome to our beer garden. This is our summer dining and seating for our Bottling Works restaurant. This more than triples the restaurant in size and certainly has an array of amazing things to look at while you dine. Here we are still in the beer garden. Behind me is the old steam boiler, a very important aspect of this building. Much of Mountjoy was without electricity at this time period, and this was installed by Bube to provide some of the very first electricity to the building itself.